Hey, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Don't Worry Wednesday Friday edition.
That's right. That's
It's,
CDVNL, Joseph.
it is, yes. And we have a special guest because Ryan is gone on vacation. He's traveling right now. So we have Jeff. Dun, 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 dun.
I hope you like the detective that I was there for a moment.
Yes. Yes. So you have seen Jeff in the chat. You have, and if you've listened to the podcast of Don't Worry Wednesday, you have heard Jeff speak because he does the intro for the podcast version of Don't Worry Wednesday. And if you haven't checked that out yet, you can check it out on Spotify or iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean. We are moving into more and more platforms as we go, and it's pretty awesome. So everybody, welcome Jeff to Don't Worry Wednesday. So round of applesauce for Jeff. And so he's sitting in for Ryan. Those of you who've been here before, you know the drill. This is Don't Worry Wednesday. We are not professional counselors or therapists or anything like that, police officers or whatnot. We just want to be friends. We want to offer some perspective, love, and encouragement for any challenges or issues you might be having. The show is produced by Jesse. Jesse's awesome. And if you have any issues, just feel free to start a support ticket and he will fix it.
He loves those.
Yes. And our chat room hostess is Princess. She keeps us on track and gets all of our stuff. If you guys post something in the chat, she will make sure it gets onto the website. And so if you want to, you can, if you're having a struggle or a challenge, you can feel free to post it in the chat, or you can post it right here at bss.studio. Or if you would like to remain anonymous, you can send us an email at dww@bss.studio. That's dww@bss.studio. And we would be happy to handle the issue. Just feel free to, like, when you email, just let us know you want to remain anonymous. That way we know for sure. And we would love to handle any issues you might be having. We have quite a backlog of stuff tonight.
Indeed. And Static P's on vacation.
Yeah. So how you doing tonight, Jeff?
I'm doing quite well. Busy, productive day as usual. Usually when the stream comes on for Don't Worry Wednesday, I'm around. I'm watching a little bit, but I'm also then editing audio at my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am tonight, no multitasking, focused entirely on Don't Worry Wednesday, Don't Fret Fridays edition.
Nice. Yeah, Jeff is the audio guru. He does a lot of audio work at his job, and yeah. Cody says he wants Don't Worry Wednesday special where Princess and Jesse are hosts and Ryan
That'd be cool.
The host and producer. Yeah,
that would be way cool.
That is a great idea. Yeah. So nice. Well, so we should jump into this. What do you say, Jeff? That'd be a good idea.
Go right ahead. I'm kind of feeling out the situation of multiple screens and access to research, but you have your routines down, so I'll just follow your lead.
Right on. So we've got quite a queue of topics here to go through. Angel, are you here tonight, or Uni? Those are the ones that have been here the longest. So if Angel is here or Uni is here, either one of you, feel free to chime in, and we'll put you to the front of the list. Yes, and then next we would have one from Keel. Keel, okay. I'm pretty sure I saw your name up here. So yeah, and we have a few on the list from Akil. The first one would be, let's see, it's called Taking Things in Moderation. So Akil, I saw you here, so we're gonna take yours first. Let's see, Taking Things in Moderation, and here's a link to Akil's. Cody, I believe Akil is here. I saw him say something earlier on. Yep. So, yeah. Yep. So, all right. So here's a link to Akil's topic. I'm going to post it right here so you guys can read along. Yeah, he posted earlier.
I saw him say, "Whoa, Jeff," at one point.
Yep.
That's about it.
And Princess says he's still here on the list. So yeah. So that is a link to Akil's topic. Akil, hopefully you are still here. Yeah, so we're gonna handle this one. So this is Akil's. It's called Taking Things in Moderation. Hey, there you are, Akil. I see you. Excellent. So Akil posts, I really don't know if I should be writing this, but this nightmare came to life, will keep me up on nights. An acquaintance of mine called me right after midnight. We lost another person due to drug overdose. I'm sorry. That poor soul. I can't imagine what could possibly drive him into that direction. I used to be dependent of tobacco, so I know how terrible addiction is. It is a bondage of our own making, a restraining of ourselves by ourselves. We humans started off simple, but our longings would become a catalyst for our growth. The desire for a better life was what drove humans to be uncomfortable, to be creative. Over the centuries, we have taken different steps in all directions that molded humans into who we are today. The feeling of wanting, however, could also be our downfall. I'm not really religious, but I do believe that God created everything with a purpose. Take snake venom, for example. The protein of it could be used as the antivenom or further developed into drugs for the medical field. Yes, drugs, as any other thing, was created for the benefit of us. However, the very aspect of desire is corruptible, pushing us into rather questionable directions. That's why the referred term is drug abuse, not drug taking. You've heard what happened in my family over money. Truly a shame to see it turn out that way. I'm sorry, I'm just truly appalled right now. I know that the Golden Triangle is just up north, but the thought that a new drug ring would be up again so soon didn't cross my mind. I'm currently back in uni, which saddens me that I won't be able to pay my last respect to him or find out more information in the north soon enough. I'm nervous because a death due to overdose will not be just a one-time incident. A chain of events might be coming this way. Death, my dear, aren't you being mean right now? What can we do right now? The last of plans are crumbling as the support group proven ineffective with the news of the latest death of our own. How can we be more perceptive so that we won't miss the hints of how we are tackling things wrong? Because we certainly weren't able to notice it wasn't doing better. Where should we start? We've only gotten the news that someone was overdosed with quite a rarely available drug. As much as I'd like to trust law enforcement, death happens every day. Some solid evidence will be needed to have them moving. So, wow, Akil, thank you so much for posting. You're
Yes.
always so introspective in your posts. Thank you again for that. And so, wow, so we've got a person that overdosed on drugs and perished as a result. And so, what do we do about that? What do we do when that is creeping into our culture and into our lives, through our friends and family members and all that kind of stuff? And that's a really, really good question. So, Jeff, do you want to start us off, or would you like me?
I'll give it a shot. Boy,
Okay.
and thank you for the eloquent question. Thank you for taking time to continue to be part of this group. And I'm so sorry to hear about that passing. Moderation is obviously the part that we would hope for, and sometimes when substances outside of normal use are taken, ingested, judgment of how much is too much can go away. Now, I know I grew up in a household where my dad was a pipe smoker. And I grew up in a time when chewing tobacco in a rural area was frequent. I had been around tobacco, but it didn't necessarily hold any necessary lure for me. I actually, admittedly, tried to chew the pipe tobacco, and that tasted so horrible that chewing tobacco didn't seem like a thing that I wanted to get into. And I had friends, or at least they'd been friends years before, who said, "Hey, you want to smoke?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's fine." And I was used to the smell, the aroma of pipe tobacco, but cigarette smoke didn't really, it could give or take it. I didn't, some people I knew did that. Some people didn't. And actually, it was a case where when I was in college, when we would go on convention trips for campus radio, I actually was the individual who held the packets of cigarettes because the individuals would pile their money. Most everybody else smoked, but they knew they were going to go through them so quickly that they believed they couldn't trust themselves to moderate their smoking. So they knew if they gave them to me, I wouldn't be smoking them. But they called me Smokestack, and they'd come and say, "Hey, can I have one?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure." And so I was the distributor during those trips to New York City. And but I never took it up. And it was more the case where I was in broadcast, and I knew that there were several famous broadcasters who did smoke, who got a certain texture to their voice. But no, also about 2 years, 2 years into college, my dad passed away 11 years after original heart issues. And so between lung and heart issues, I just could see hereditarily, I was probably, if I took it up, gonna shorten my life. So it's a path I didn't want to get on, and it's a choice I made. Alcohol, it was something I didn't really have peer pressure on it. I had neighbors of example who hit it or drank it, but mostly at moderate levels. And so there was a good neighborhood support system through it. And I did, when I got to 21, I went with the guys for a birthday and stuff. And then I did have friends who were older. And so that senior year in college, yeah, I was, had the daily drinks, and then the 12-ounce cans turned to 20-ounce cans, turned to 40-ounce cans or bottles. And yet, I'd like, okay, well, just 140 type of thing. And I never pushed it. And so the moderation always seemed to be, my rule of thumb. So, but I had friends of the family who were lost to DUI, either wrecks of other people drinking, and a brother was lost in a wreck. So there were too many cases not in my family, but close enough to home to make me know the risks, scare me enough,
right,
that it never took it up. And then where I could work at bar situations, but I was fortunate. I was the DJ, and I always said, well, I'm driving, I've got the equipment, I want to deliver a good entertainment to you. Um, yeah, I'll take a bottle home for the end of the night, but I know I'm not driving with it. I'm not providing my DJ services inebriated, because I'd seen others in the profession who I just didn't think, yeah, you know, kind of funny and entertaining to an extent, but once they passed moderation,
Mm.
it never went well.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, well, that I'll just err on the side of not. And I even with my wife went on wine and chocolate, what they call wine and chocolate tours for
Mm.
Valentine's several years, and in that case, they only give you the moderated thing, and we had a designated driver, and we'd go and we'd hit 18 wineries in a day and sample from all of them, and then the next day hit another 18 wineries, and so yeah, moderation. Um,
Yeah. So
death.
what do we do with
Yeah.
all that? No.
I guess it's perhaps asking questions, or when your inner voice says, hey, my friend doesn't look quite right, or seems to be off a little, just say, hey, you okay? Or, okay, I know you've taken drugs before. Are you back on them? And do you know your limits, or can I help you out? Can I intervene without losing the love that I have for you, or you losing your friendship with me?
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, um, it- making this latest death not just be another senseless, pointless death, but taking a stand and saying, see this case, this could be you,
Mm.
this could be me, and I don't want to see this for any of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not let this lesson go for naught. But I mean, it's a tough one to unpack, and that's what I have for now.
Right on. Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some experience there, and it's interesting to hear how you were the distributor of of like the cigarettes,
But
and
yeah,
you weren't
keeping a
involved
mind
in
of
it. Right.
moderation. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
well, you've already had your three. Why don't you hold off?
Yeah. Right. You're like, I had a friend who was a dealer of many drugs. I knew lots of those people because I was a user of many back in the day, and yeah, I totally. It was interesting how he would distribute in the same way. He would be like, okay, this person's buying a whole lot, it's gonna like start to mess with them. So he would kind of stop, selling to certain people if he saw that it was becoming a problem. And I was like, that's a very interesting way to run your business, your enterprise there. Um,
Hmm.
but it was cool because he kind of was looking out for people at the same time. But I mean, it, drug abuse can be such a rampant thing. I mean, I just saw a headline recently about opioid addiction and overdose and problems that we're facing here in the United States with all that. And when it hits close to home, man, that can be so difficult. There was a friend of mine who overdosed. He ended up being a heroin addict, and he overdosed a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
and
one of
I
my
remember,
classmates did as well. So yeah.
yeah, that's a really tough thing to deal with. I mean, I had not been like super close to him. Okay, Akil says it's heroin there too.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's any opiate. I was never addicted to heroin, but for a while I struggled with a dependence on painkillers. So then they were opiate based. So it's in the same family as heroin. But man, did the stream die again?
Uh-oh.
Man, oh man. We're having some issues with YouTube tonight, so sorry you guys. But hopefully it can come back up soon. Uh,
I see chat. I just don't see live.
yep,
Oh, there's a little bit.
we see it. YouTube's is borking. So, hey, it's back. Are we back? Somebody
so.
say something as we're back. Man, oh man. Well, so okay, so that's interesting. What does borking mean? Oh, broken. Borking means broken. So what's the scoop, Jesse? Is it off all the way, like off, or like what's? Okay. Off and on. Well, that's just wonderful. Um, any thoughts on what might be causing it, or is it just YouTube being silly, weird? Mhm. Okay. All right. Still having troubles. And again, and again. I hope YouTube didn't strike us too. Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. So yeah, YouTube is going on climate change strike. Well, if we were having a problem with YouTube and they struck us for something we said, that would be really, really weird because I don't think we do too much that's offensive. Maybe we were talking about drugs and they're like, oh no talking about drugs. But I've seen
I was a cigarette distributor.
Oh yeah.
Big tobacco. Big tobacco herd.
Keep an eye on the door there. The cops are going to be busting down your door for years ago. Yes. Well, hopefully, I mean, I'm just going to go and hopefully this comes through. So
okay.
All right. Well, if Jesse says it's okay for right now, I'm gonna trust him right now, and hopefully the chat will let us know when there's issues. So thank you guys for keeping us updated on what's going on with YouTube. But yeah. So anyway, Akil. So one question you had: what can we do right now? The last of plans are crumbling as a support group proven ineffective with the news of the latest death of our own. So right now, I mean, the people that are surviving through this loss of a loved one thing to do is get together with people and make sure everybody feels loved through this and supported through this challenging time. I mean, that's one thing we can always do is kind of come together. That's one of the, sadly, one of the times that we as people come together is when a loved one of ours dies. I've noticed that with family. We got hit with a string of deaths in my family recently, and so it was times we got to get together and spend time together, and it was like, man, we always seem to get together when people are dying. That's that's uh that's a really tough thing, but it brought us together in that sense. So that's one thing. And then another question you had is how can we be more perceptive? One thing, I mean, you can kind of keep an eye out for behaviors that for, there are behaviors that kind of are telling of somebody that's having some kind of a drug issue. I recently went through some of this with a friend of mine, and it was, you could just kind of tell something was off. Like he would tell me he would do something and then it wouldn't happen, or like he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to call you back, and then there wouldn't be a phone call back, and then then maybe we were supposed to get together and then it was just a no show, no call, no show, and it just kind of was consistent that way. And then later on there'd be apologies and hey man, I'm really sorry and stuff like that. But it just kind of, this pattern started to emerge of this person just kind of dropping the ball. And so that kind of was the case for a little while. And then recently I found out he checked himself into rehab, and I was like, okay, so it makes sense. So like this happened, and he had people close to him in his life that were kind of calling him out on some of the behavior, and I was just starting to notice a little bit of a pattern. And so but I hadn't quite gotten to the point of being able to call him out on it yet, because I just started to notice. But those are some things you can notice in friends. Just kind of little hitches in their behavior and maybe ways that they might be changing. And then where do you start? Where do you start with someone? I would always, I know, Akil, you're not super overly religious, but one thing that I always start with is prayer. I always begin with praying for someone, and then just asking God to watch over them, and ask God to reach them through whatever challenge they might be having, through whatever situation that might be causing the problem. Because usually, I mean, I know with drugs, it can happen. It seems to happen gradually. You start with one thing, and then that kind of opens a door and it becomes a habit, and then it goes a little bit further, and then before you know it, maybe you're using a little bit of a harder drug. Or I just recently heard a story about a guy with a heroin issue. He didn't like to use needles, so he would crush it and then snort it, and then eventually a couple months later he moved on to just needles, and then it was just a daily, always trying to keep this habit going, and it drained his income. And then he had to turn to breaking into houses to try and steal things so he could support his drug habit. And you start to watch this progress of events that happens, as you get further and further on down the line. So, but I would start with prayer. And then talk to your friend. If you're starting to notice some kind of behavior issues, talk to them. Make sure that they know that you love them. Always start from that platform of surrounding them with love, making sure they feel secure, rather than just coming out and, hitting them over the head with, hey, man, you're really messing up. What's wrong with you? Stuff like that. I mean, you have to really have a strong relationship with someone to be able to do that and not have it go awry, to have them just blow you off. Now, they might do that anyway, depending on where they're at. I know sometimes the people closest to me, if they were to call me out on any issue that I might be having, I might just immediately just reject them and distance myself from them, and then go deeper into the habit. But so you kind of got to tread lightly as you go. But prayer, okay, Akil, update. Akil says, I've been praying because deaths always get me desperate. Yes. Managed to get a group of acquaintances to actually go to the people affected to try and help. I've been away and most of us were working. Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing what you can to try and help. And that's definitely awesome of you, Keel. One thing that I love is where your heart's at. I know that you've come on and you've talked about, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde dichotomy that you have going on inside you from time to time. But through all that, I can tell there's a compassion in your heart. There's a love in your heart for other people. And I'm so thankful that you're here in this community. And I love your contributions. And I know that with your heart where it is, you can really make a difference to the people around you. And if you approach these people with love, that's going to be your best bet. As long as you're loving, you can accept people where they are right now, even with a drug problem. But then you can also breathe belief into them that they can be better, even though they will know that you love them right where they're at. But you can also let them know, hey, it can be better. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to be stuck there. There are ways out of that. And as far as overcoming addiction, that's a whole nother topic that we could go through. And sometimes it depends on what the addiction is with, what kind of a drug it's an addiction to. And but there are definitely ways to get past it. Sometimes you need to go to rehab. I've had friends that was where they needed to go in order to get off it. Another friend of mine, he had to go to jail. And then that was like hardcore withdrawal for a while because he's there in jail. He didn't have access to it. And so for a while it was just boom, like he related to me later. That was like, it was some of the hard always helps. Lots of water helps, and lots of sleep. Those three things, exercise, water, and sleep, make a big difference in helping someone combat an addiction. Yeah, hopefully that can get you off to the right track on a beginning here, Keel. But sounds to me like you're already doing a lot of things that can be helpful in this situation. So, Jeff, did you have anything else to say?
No, I mean the only thing in the circle, and I don't know whether it moves the ball forward because your perception was great there. The individual who stepped in and said, "Hey, maybe you're drinking a little too much." In college, he was a roommate of mine, and he didn't drink while I was around him in college. And ironically, when we got together, it had been like 3 or 4 years since I had one, and I went to his house down south. And the first thing that happened when I walked in the door, he was handing me drinks. And I didn't know if it was a case of he was remembering me for that, or if he had, in the course of his time since we had been together, gone into it himself. So yeah, moderation, just the overarching, but yeah, and everything in love.
Yeah. Akil's got an update. It says he actually went to rehab. I was proud of him, but alas, he was found dead over in some alley last week. More news of people on the watch list kind of came. It's not good. Yeah, that happens. I mean, it's so hard because we can't ever control other people and their actions. And when it hits that close to home, and it's somebody and it's a friend of yours, and they were trying to get better, and then all of a sudden, sometimes when we're trying to get better, the struggles hit us even harder. The addiction can come back even stronger, and then those are some times when it's really important to keep close to people. But yeah, Keel, I'm with Princess here. I'm so sorry. I wish I could just give you a big hug, virtual, like for real, not just virtual. But yeah, you're awesome. It sounds to me like you're doing everything you can, and then for the people around you, you're helping to support them. But yeah, and it never hurts to pray for someone who's died as well. We pray for their soul, and You know, sometimes that's the most we can do. So, Keel, you're awesome, and I'm so sorry
Indeed.
that you've had to go through this issue. And yeah, hopefully brighter days are on the horizon for you, my friend. But always remember, the BSS community, we're here. We'd love to help you in any way you possibly can, whether it's just encouraging words or if you want to just rant or vent or whatever in the forums, feel free. And thanks again. You're a great guy, and hopefully you can get through this and help a lot of other people through this as well. It sounds like you're already on the right track. So thanks for posting, Akil. You're awesome, and hopefully that was some help for you.
All right. Now, what, 18 left to answer?
Yeah, we've got a handful. Now, not everybody's here.
Okay.
But let's see. So we got one from Dead. I don't believe Dead is here. I think Dead is also traveling right now. We have another one from Akil. And let's see. We've got Pokemon fan. We got one from Matt. I think Bree had one, but I think we handled it already. So the next would be Master Lay, if you are here. Or Strawberry, if you're here. We have one from Anonymous, but that one, Ryan has actually been in communication with them, so it'd be good for Ryan to be here for that. Next, then, we have from Cherry.
And I
Cherry,
saw Cherry's name there in the chat.
Cherry is here. Cherry, the Fate and Malice finale.
Finale, yeah.
So, wow. Okay, Cherry, you are awesome. Cherry, you're next in line with the finale of Fate and Malice. And yeah, so those of you who are just coming into this is there's a multi-part thing going on for Cherry here. Mm-hmm. Cherry's been dealing with some communities and some servers and some relationship drama that's been going on in those. So, Cherry says, I wanted to stop the series so I can move on to the more current issues. So I had to kind of squish all the rest of the stuff into one. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
So yeah, that's.
How much of the encyclopedia, heartfelt encyclopedia, do I read?
The heartfelt encyclopedia?
Because I see it posted here. I can start it out. I'm going to avert my eyes to another computer screen. And I'll give it a shot of reading it off.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You'll probably remember some from this stuff, and then this post will explain a lot too.
All right.
So yeah, so Cherry, there's I posted a link to the topic on the website, and yeah, Cherry, thank you again for posting. So I'm going to read through it real quick, and then we can go through it. So Cherry says, glad to be finally done with this, but that means I have to reveal every secret I've held thus far. All quotes are from the song Springtrap Finale by Groundbreaking. So, all right. So Cherry says, to clarify things, the server was based off the game Five Nights at Freddy's, FNAF. Puppet started it and pretended to be the marionette. I joined because I like to do the same thing, except I pretended to be someone else. So when Ryan asked, I wonder if she actually said those exact words, I can fix you, the answer is yes. She said those exact words. However, another truth is that Puppet is autistic. Tor was adopted, and from what I heard, constantly tried to commit suicide. Now onto the final section, No More Me, which is also the name of a song by Groundbreaking that I listen to often around that time. For the past half a year, Tor had a life-threatening illness. I remember at the time I was still innocent. I believed every single word I was told and wondered why someone so nice could suffer so much. The answer, because that illness was a lie. After half a year of heartache, she finally confessed that the illness was all a lie that she spread for attention. Me, still being innocent, instantly forgave her and was just glad it wasn't true. That was a stupid mistake. After the lie, people loved Tor so much, and I felt like nothing. I thought that maybe if I replicate Tor's lies, just make it a different scenario, that people would begin to love me. I was wrong. People began to hate me, especially Puppet. When I asked her why she hated me so much, she replied, and I remember to this day, I don't know. I just feel like I need someone to blame all the bad things on, and that happens to be you. Ooh. From there on out, things were never the same. Puppet had always been afraid of me, and that one lie gave her enough of a reason to hate me forever. I chose to be a character called Circus Baby, also known as Elizabeth, and I created my own server, a sister location, if you'll think of it like that. Puppet would constantly ban me for any reason she had. It didn't matter whether it was for a stupid reason or something small. She used anything as a weapon. It was that time I created a story by the name of Locked Malice, forged from all the broken parts of me. At first, there were a few people who still believed in me, but over time, that amount decreased until it finally reached zero. The last time I was banned, this girl loved me, and we both shared the same dream, wanting to move to Japan. Puppet asked me if I wanted to be a character called Springtrap, who in the games ends up being left alone in a purgatory state of torment. My fate had been decided and I was banned, despite the pleas of the girl who had loved me. Just like the Springtrap from the game, I was banished and left alone to suffer ever since, while they all got to move on. But it still hurts. Why do they get to go and why do I have to stay? They moved on, but I'm stuck here. Well, they're not wrong, but I'm asking for some peace of mind. If I could rewind, I would never go back to the place at the time. About a year later, I created a character made to possess all my traits, one that I could say was me and be proud of, one that I could always be so that I could draw my own fate and create endless fictional stories and worlds at my will and take off the mask that they had put on me. What was that character's name? Cherry. Everything I'd been through led to the creation of Cherry. But this question still remains. How does one truly move on from the peak of their life? Is there even a way to move on without being plagued by sadness and memories? And that comes from Cherry. So now we see where Cherry's name came from, this whole situation that you've been through with all this drama with getting banned from servers, and then it looks like you started your own. And now you've created the character Cherry, which I think is pretty cool. So anyway, so Jeff, then the question is, how does someone move on? It sounds like Cherry is looking at this time period that was like the peak of her life. And then now she's being forced to move on. So like Jeff, how does someone do that?
Wow. Well, Cherry, thank you so much for posting that and for really expressing a lot of tough situations over multiple stories so well. We really thank you. We thank you for coming back often and being a part of this supportive community.
Mhm.
I don't have direct relatability of server communities to relate to this situation. Um, so I guess my situations would be kind of more from the IRL in real life with people and situations which I saw groups as high points or the best it can be. and then felt disappointed or rejected or just issues that led me to need to move on. Um, Moving on can be tough. I find in situations where I get to know a group of people, either through common bonds of location, interests, um, tastes, likes in culture or lifestyle, that there I go through ebbs and flows. There are times where I'm very open and accepting and latch in, and I'm am in and part of it pretty quickly. And then there's other times, and not necessarily right after bad experiences, sometimes just thinking over, well, I've seen this before, I'll go cautiously into new situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm introverted. Admittedly, I'm the kind that I love time to myself. So um, I know that prolonged periods of time to myself um, need to be broken up with social occasions. So I kind of force myself into that, and yet I've been out in a new state, different from where I spent the first major part of my life, and I moved to where my wife was from, and she knew for me to adapt, I needed to get out and get to know people, and I had like about four different social circles, of which one really solid and uplifting and continuing has been one that just through the chance meeting with Joe, actually I've been able to sustain now for about 8.5 years.
Mm.
Some other groups have had their positive points, but either there's been an anchor person who then leaves, and the rest of the friends that were built around it go away, or they try to stick together, but they find that really the commonality was that personality that was in the center of the group. So moving on, it's more of, it will happen, but it's not something that happens immediately. um I've had a lot of experiences in life where I go like, yeah, this is as good as it's going to get.
Mm.
I wish I could freeze this moment. I wish I could freeze this emotion. I wish I could be around these people forever and ever and ever. And there's a season for everything. And just the good groups, the bad groups, they've all kind of led to making me who I am over the years. Um, I think it's reflection, thought, maybe either seeking out something good to take away from even a painful experience
Mm.
from a social circle or a group. And then other times it's simply thinking back to either childhood or school years and going like, who was that go-to person? What are they up to? I've lost touch with them. And in some cases it's as it pick it up, never lost a beat, right along for a while with that anchoring, reconnect to myself, remember who I am, why I am what I am.
Mm.
And then other times realizing that I've grown past that person, and yet thinking, oh yeah, there was this other person that was maybe not in the friend circle, but it was an acquaintance of ours, and striking up a conversation and catching up on times and getting their perception of what that social, they were outside of it looking in. They can fill in the gaps on what was going on at that time. So it sometimes can then go like, wow, I missed out on being your friend, or I missed out on, I could have been spending time with you. We have so much in common today. I wish I would have paid attention to you. So it's kind of a case of, you just kind of keep your eyes open and look for that. You either reconnect with an old group, or you take a little time to yourself, and sometimes that's pouring yourself into your favorite hobby, reading, or getting back to reading, or maybe it's just listening to your favorite music again, or saying, okay, well, maybe that hobby, that habit, that is a crutch. Maybe I need to try something that I always was curious about, and it might broaden me, and maybe I'll really love skydiving, to an extreme. Like, the skydivers, they seem to be alive and full of life, and just that, jumping into that other group, that maybe that's where I'm headed. So kind of scattered. I don't have a direct relatability on it, but I've moving on. It's a time of reflection and being true to yourself, and prayer helps too. So that's what I have. Joe, I know you'll expound really well from here.
Well, I love what you said. You talked about moving on. You've had some experience in that area. I mean, I remember it was very interesting. Jeff talked about when he moved to this area, and we met for the first time. How long had you been in the area when we met?
I had moved out a month and a half earlier, which 6 weeks, and I'd spent half of that time back in my old state. So I'd been half of the 3 weeks in Michigan, 3 weeks in Pennsylvania, and I was looked on already as, oh, that loser that doesn't have a job yet.
Right.
They're like, you better go to this event. You better get a job from this event.
Yeah.
And that was a month and a half into what ended up being a year and a half, 18 months to secure employment with a place where I still am.
Right. Well, it's really interesting because, Jeff and I both, like, I had moved to this area. I don't know. I probably was here maybe about a half a year. Oh, maybe it was a year. I don't remember. Either way, I had been here a little bit longer. Jeff got here, and we met at this Journey to Jobs is what it was called. It was like a job fair. And so we were in this transition moment. So we were in that process of moving on from a previous state when we met. And so it was really, really interesting. And I remember that transitional period. Jeff talks about, being that loser that doesn't have a job yet. And it's like, we came to this area at one of the most depressed times.
Yes.
Come to this area. We live in mid Michigan, and this was back in 2009.
The depths of the Great Recession.
Yeah, right then, when everyone is right there. Man, the stream's offline again. That's so great. Right when at least they get your stuff, Jeff. I'm so glad. Because I know it's when I start talking, it knows. YouTube knows. It's like, hey, when Joe starts talking, we're gonna stop it. Not. It's ta-da! Hey, we were just talking like, hey, it seems to know, like YouTube really wants to hear what Jeff has to say, and me too. Like, and then as soon as I start talking, they're like, "Oh, this is old hat. We can shut down. No big deal." but anyway, so are we back again? No, like in the chat. So it's bad right now. So is it your problem, Jesse? Do you have too many tabs open?
Oh, one's a tab.
Oh man. Oh rip, it's dead again. It's dead again. It's alive again. How about now? Or now? Nothing. Nothing. Ah, ugh. Huh? Oh, it's bad. Bad? Good? Nada. Nothing. Oof. It's back. It's back, I think. Maybe. Hard to tell.
Okay. Buffering.
It's
Buffering.
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 So go to live if you can. Skip ahead. Stop. There's a nothing. Oh my goodness. What fun. What fun we are having. Yay. 6 watching. A bunch of people are leaving, huh? Yeah. 5. I love it here. Oh, no, it's back. More, but they disconnected. It's video output low. Low. How about, can you guys hear me now? Well, so let's see. So Cherry, I am so very sorry. I have to say 50 seconds behind or it doesn't work. And same messages in chat again and again. Oh man. All right. Okay. Well, anyway, Cherry, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. However, yeah, go back and re-listen to what Jeff said. And I'm glad that he got his piece in before we had all these technical difficulties, because what he was talking about was very important, and he lived this experience in real life as he was talking about. So, and I remember meeting him, and we were both kind of at this time where we were a little bit shell-shocked. We had gone through this transitional period, and now we just moved to this area, and there we were, and we were kind of just like, what is going on, in a daze. Like, I don't know how I'm going to work to make enough money to support my family. We're dealing with these issues. We're just going to do whatever we possibly can to scrape together. I started finding all kinds of odd jobs. Jeff was involved in a whole bunch of job seeker networks around the area, and there was all kinds of stuff going on. It was crazy. So he definitely knows about moving on, because he's had to do it. It's been forced upon him. And some of those times, I mean, there was that downtime that he had where reading and learning and growing, those were huge components of him being able to get back up on top of things. And then finding the right opportunities. And I remember, I'll never forget the day he told me about the job he started, the job he's in now, doing audio work and doing media production for an internet radio station, and basically local business network around Michigan. And he started that as an unpaid intern.
Yep.
Like he was looking for a job, and then finally found an internship that didn't pay, but it was at least something to do, and there was future opportunities. And then before I knew it, like he got that unpaid internship, and then like it seemed like immediately he took over the director position at this place, right? So now he's operations director of this place, and he keeps that place running like you would not even believe. It's outstanding. So he definitely knows about going from one place, moving to another. And he's right on. If you can figure out some creative outlet, or if you can figure out how to read and grow, find a way to grow yourself through the process. And then understand, I know you said that this was the peak of your life. Your question is, how does one truly move on from the peak of their life? Cherry, I don't think that's the peak of your life.
Mm-mm.
I think the peak of your life is still yet to come. I think, and you know what? You're going to have many peaks as you move on through your life. I look at it like every year seems to get a little bit better, seems to get a little bit bigger and more intense. Like I have more intense challenges now than I've ever had before. And I have intense victories as well. And it just seems to go, and that's a good sign. It's a sign that I'm doing something to grow, because as you grow, your challenges get bigger and your victories get bigger, which is a pretty cool thing. So Cherry, I think you may have had a peak experience there, but then you got to go down into a valley, and then you're going to get to the point where you're on another peak. And I love the fact that you've created a character that you can always use across all the platforms. You've got Cherry now, and Cherry, that's someone that it doesn't matter where you go, you can always be that same person. It's kind of like how Ryan has done with Static P.
Static P, yeah.
With Black Static before, like this. And so he's kind of kept with the same staticky, situation. But now you have a character that you can be, and then you can identify with, and then that can be who you are as you move on in the virtual world. So moving on, it can be hard, but it's also good. And there are times, I can remember there are times when I've moved on from something, and I'm in this situation now where I feel like I'm not really doing anything. Like before I moved on from this situation, I was working super hard. I remember in particular, I was working a job as I was an IT support salesperson. I was in sales and marketing for an IT company. It was actually the job I got at the job event that I met Jeff at.
Yep.
So that was my position, and I did that, and it was a lot of work. I put in a lot of hours, a lot, and I worked like crazy and for long hours. And then all of a sudden that just went away. Mm-hmm. It was gone. That position was gone. And I found out a little while later that they had gone out of business, and that person moved and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. But I remember that time, and I was unemployed for, I think, maybe 2 months. And in that time, I was like, what? Everything went from super hard work, super hard, going crazy, to nothing. And I was like,
right.
Like, I got to keep myself busy or I'm going to go insane. Something's going to happen. So, and I didn't have an online community,
Mm.
but I did have friends. I had Jeff, I had Ryan and his brother Kyle, I had Jesse. I had this core group that is BSS, and they were there for me to at least talk to and work through and be my friend. And, while I was putting all this stuff together. So in those times when you're moving on, it's great to have people that you can count on, that you can just rely on to encourage you, to lift you up. And that's why I'm so glad you found your way here, because that's what the people here are going to do. If you get involved at BSS.studio, I know you are, and then also here, and then maybe on the Discord, get on Static P's Discord server, you can jump on there. But you're going to find people that you can rely on that'll uplift you while you're going through the process. And that's so valuable. But I would definitely, when you're moving on, find a place to channel your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just stay stagnant for a while, it's easy to just kind of, let everything atrophy and you go. But if you have a place for your energy to go, you can create some great stuff, whether it's music or art or writing or whatever. And then if you're reading, there is a book. If you love to read, if you like reading, I would find the book Peaks and Valleys. And I forget the author. Jeff, you're really good at looking up authors. So there's a book called Peaks and Valleys that it's put together like a story. It's
Dr. Spencer Johnson?
Yes, that would be it. That sounds right. Dr. Spencer Johnson by he's the person it's by. The book is called Peaks and Valleys by Dr. Spencer Johnson. And this will help you understand these times where you're going up and you're going down and you're going up and you're going down. And then it helps you to analyze your behavior, that when you were on your way up toward a peak, what were the things that you did that brought you to the peak? And then you can also analyze the times you went down into the valley. What were the things you did that took you down there? In this situation that you recently had, there was a whole bunch of drama with a whole bunch of people, and there were different things that you tried and attempts that you made. You can definitely learn from that. But you can learn from this experience you had with Tor and Puppet and all those people. So, and it sounds like through your post that you're already doing that a little bit. You're already looking through that time and you're saying, all right, what were some of the things I did that were bad things that I can learn to not do again? And you've done that. And now you've got a new character where it's like, all right, I can build this again. And what were the things you did that brought it up?
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of start to differentiate between the behaviors that made things better and then the things that made things worse, and do more of the things that brought you up, less of the things that brought it back down. And then before you know it, you'll find yourself on another peak, a higher peak. And keep in mind also, when you get on that peak, there's probably going to be another valley, because all things pass. And I like to say one of the things I recently I recently wrote this as a lyric, but this concept anyway was the concept that the things that you have in your bad times, that can be like a springboard that'll spring you into your good times. The stuff you learn down there will build momentum to help you grow and for a better good time. And I explained this to my mom. I was talking about a financial struggle we were having just recently. We're kind of in the middle of it. And I was like, yep, this is going to be a tough one. But you know what? The harder it is and the deeper I can go down, I look at it like a rubber band. I'm just like pulling this rubber band down, pulling it down, pulling it down, pulling it down. And if I can just get to where it's really, really hard and experience that, then when it goes back up, it'll boom, shoot up higher than it was before. And that's kind of how life goes. You're going to go up and you're going to go down, and you're going to go up and you're going to go down. And it seems like in the patterns that I've experienced, the lower I go means the next one's going to be really a lot higher than it was before. So you get to a high point and then you go down. And then if this challenge is really hard, then the next peak is going to be that much better. So I would definitely encourage you, Cherry, man, you're already doing this introspection, and I'm super proud of you for doing it. And just keep in mind, you have not peaked yet, my dear. You have got many more peaks that are coming toward you. And the more you can learn how to ride those and boost yourself to those, it's just going to be an amazing time. And I really am happy for you that you get to learn how to move on, because moving on is an art form. Like Jeff was talking about, he's had to do it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He's had to do it through different groups. And a couple things that help. It helps to have a group of friends that is solid, or some people that you can talk to that'll uplift you, that are solid, that are there, that aren't the willy-nilly, like, oh, well, we're here and then we're gone. And then, oh, well, that group of people went away.
Yeah.
But so latch onto those people and keep in touch with them. And then understand you've got great times ahead of you. So Jeff, what do you have anything to add on to that?
No, I mean, it brought back to mind situations where, like, I thought I was getting into groups with people on a preconceived notion. I was like, oh, these are this type of people. And I'd get in with them, and they turned the tables on my preconceived conceptions of what a group of people like that would be, sometimes for the better. But other times, I didn't let it get me too jaded, but a couple times I got into Christian groups because I felt the need for a spiritual connection or a Christian base because I'm a Christian, and yet they weren't coming from exactly the same Bible base, perhaps. And so they held, maybe not wrong to them, but things that put me into an uncomfortable state, because they held rigidity. And it put me in a situation where I'd go along, oh, okay, yeah, no, well, okay, I'll learn more. I'll expand my overall awareness because Christianity isn't one denomination. It's 3,000 dots that make up the painting of the faith. And yet I'd come back and I'd spout off something, and then I'd hurt the feelings of my roommate, who was of a different faith, but he kept his quiet. And then I'm like, oh, tolerance. Maybe I've forgotten that aspect.
Yeah, that's a tough one to learn sometimes too, to figure it out.
I got put into situations where, and then they became like, well, you're with us, or you're with us, or you're not. and then it was like, well, I guess I'm not. And that's tough, because it was like, I'm still new at college. What am I, And the people that I had met at the first week of college, they had started to find their own way. And this group that was this, faith-based group had issues and dynamics and drama. And so I fell into the communications group and just poured myself into classwork and and communications. So
Yeah, so I love that you touched on the dramatic side of things, Jeff, because that's one thing that I would encourage you to try to avoid if you can, Jerry.
Hmm.
That would be if you can, if you've just come out of a very dramatic experience, and if you can try and find the even keel people, you know, for a while, or just try and avoid excessive drama. Oh my gosh, the peace in your life will be amazing
Hmm.
because that drama, I mean, I still experience it to some extent. We all have friends and family members, sometimes a lot of times we don't get to pick our family. We do get to pick our friends, but we don't get
Yeah.
to pick our family. And sometimes, we get involved with certain family members that bring the drama. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh. And I can remember sitting there one time with my kids and we were just playing. And one of my cousins was in there talking to my mother in law. And this cousin was going through all this crazy drama stuff. And it was just start talking about this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I want to leave the room. Like, this is just crazy. I don't want my kids to hear this kind of stuff. I don't want them to think that this is how life's supposed to be. Like,
Right.
it's like, wow. But yeah. Oh, cherry updates. I'm tired of drama, honestly. Probably with good reason. Yeah. You've just
Hmm.
experienced a great deal of it. And yeah, you'll find that it gets tiresome. It just
It does.
it's incredible that way. Um so yeah, if you can avoid the drama for a while, that'd be good. But it'll find its way to you, I'm sure, here and there. But the more you can avoid it, the better, because then you'll be more at peace and you can focus on your goals and what you got to do. So yeah, I'm proud of you, Cherry.
Definitely.
I think it's awesome that you've moved on past this experience and you're moving into greater times. So yeah, stick with us. We're always glad to hear you. I know you've got another post that you've posted, so we'll get to that one in the near future, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Um, but thanks for posting that, Cherry, and thanks for the whole series. That was the first time we've ever done like a series from somebody of different posts that held the same storyline. Like this,
Hmm.
I think it was one big post. And we said, "Oh my gosh, there's way too much going on there. Can you can you like break it down a little bit?" And
Yeah.
then broke it down for us, and that was so awesome of you to do. So thank you for that, Cherry. And yeah, hopefully that was a bit helpful. I'm sure Jeff's part was helpful. My part was probably just a bunch of noise. Um,
Aw.
followed well before it was the it was the technical difficulties followed by noise of me talking. So um, but thank you again. And yeah, we should check and see who's next.
All right.
So yeah, all right. uh Oh, Cody says a few years ago I was easily at the lowest point of my life and I lost everyone. And I'm still climbing up from that. I've been there before.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, and if you wanted to post that into a question, Cody, we'd love to talk about it. If you wanted to share some examples. Um, but yeah, so we've got I should ask, has Angel showed up or Uni? Okay. Or Strawberry or Lay? Yes, Master. Yep. Or we've got one from Kendra. I've not
Haven't
seen
seen
Kendra
Kendra.
yet. And then we have Satura. Or Matt. So yeah. If we don't have any of those, what we will do is we have another one from a Keel and we have another one from Cherry, and it could be a Keel and Cherry's night.
It could be.
So yeah, we should move on to. I agree with you, Cody. Let's move to the next one from a Keel, which is Howl. Oh, Akil says I would like you to skip the past ones. So which one would you like us to do, Akil?
Domino?
Yep, your latest one is Domino. Or there's the one, I don't know how you say Yggdrasil. So we've got those. Domino. All right. We'll do Domino. All right. Yours is next, Akil. We already ah. Oh my goodness. Do we want to just do we want to shut her down? I mean, YouTube
Maybe
can
it's
demonetize
the
this.
Holy Spirit intervening. Oh, my screen's starting to go again.
It's green again. It's green again. Da, 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 da. For now, yay. So, is it still green? Still green. Ah.
I'm seeing myself like doing stuff from a few minutes back.
All right. Well, Jesse, do we just want to, I mean, every time Joe talks. I know. YouTube does not like me. All right. Joe is crucial. Every time someone says it's good again, it just dies. I don't know, Jesse. What do you think? All right. Let's just send it to the end screen and we're live-ish.
Yeah, we are.
It wants us to be pessimistic. It does. Jeff, your presence reminded Mr. Bean's ability to interfere with technology. Yes, we are too positive for the internet. Okay, you're live. You're good. Yes. YouTube saying great again. Look at that. All right. So let's see if we can do a kills. Shall we?
We'll give it a shot.
Yes. All right. We will do Keel's. This is Domino from Keel. So you can read along when I post it right here. Boom. And I'll post it right here. Boom. And this is from Keel, and it's called Domino. And it says, all according to Keikaku, all according to plan. Oh, sir, Cody says, Joe, just don't talk too much and it won't die. I'm about to read a post from Keel. I'm going to be talking, so hopefully, maybe since I'm reading a post and I'm just not saying my own thoughts, maybe then it'll stay good. Right? It'll be good then. It's the Curse of Joe. It reminds me of the Book of Joe. But yes. All right. So this is from Keel. It's called Domino. All according to plan. How I wish I could say it for once again. How I wished for the simplicity of the past. I'm not much of a religious person, but there's a saying that I held in high regard. We can plan, but God wills what'll happen. Mm-hmm. Over the course of the last few days, I've been receiving news of people dying all over in my hometown. Quite a number of them were my acquaintances, people I bumped shoulders with and worked with. Drug abuse was the numero uno cause of their demise, growing tired of hearing the cases. I'm growing tired in trying to believe in people that'll not spare faith in people, especially themselves. I'm growing tired physically. I want to sleep. Last night, the Crown Prince of the South wanted to declare emergency over a chemical waste spread out into a water supply. Oh my. Given the tension between the royals and the Democratic leadership, both sides started to take different ways to handle the matter, causing a very conflicting situation for the people. Schools are currently being closed down in fear of risking the children being exposed further. I may not be qualified to say this, but this brought the fear of how Vietnam was suffering back then. We as the people are afraid. What'll happen to the future? How can we work together for the betterment of us all? Politics can be a dirty field. What can we do about it? Personally, I'm glad that Mr. Potato wasn't running for the Minister of Unity. I don't want to have our hopes shattered if he ever got corrupted in politics. We currently have about 250 reported cases over this matter, about 250 directly affected. What of the rest that's indirectly affected? Another domino fell with the heartbreaking news of the Christchurch mosque shootings. Our hearts are getting conflicted. The people right here are very disappointed, as the very reason this became a major news was because the shooter said something that related him to a world-famous YouTuber. I don't blame the YouTuber, though. He wasn't at fault in this matter at all. In fact, we felt sorry for him to be involved just because some not server appropriate list of words by Keel and his roommate decided to try and put the blame and guilt to him with even more non-Gucci words for the server meme. We, the people that trusted in the hope of tolerance now, are beginning to doubt the words we have been saying for years. The actions of a few individuals doesn't necessarily make an organization or a faith or the people bad. Yet when the shooter, the terrorist streamed, it was cheered on. He was called a hero of their people. 40 lives were lost by a misguided person, and more were affected indirectly. I, Akil Mukashim, am very sorry. Please let me know if I pronounced that right. I'm very sorry that my interpretation of my faith was wrong because I refuse to resort to making people of other faiths suffer. I'm sorry that I've found people that I thought peace with our faith in the equation was possible too. We are sorry. We are not the true believers. We are sorry that the ones that you know are following the true teachings wanted you to suffer. We are sorry that we are as bad, if not worse, than the true believers because we held back. I'm sorry. I should be laughing over the death of your people now, huh? I'm sorry that I thought of all this. I'm just tired. Question. I just wanted to know, how can I be sure that everything I've done to help people wasn't for nothing? I wanted to know, how could I say I've done something to know that it worked? We wanted to know how much trust we could put in people, as humans are corruptible. We as the people wanted to know what hope is. Would being tolerant benefit us all in would being tolerant benefit us in all of the situations? Because these days it doesn't seem to pay off. There's always someone screaming something bad over someone that stayed in silence for the good of people. Guess who got heard? Hmm. Thanks, Akil. I'm glad I did good on your name. Yeah, wow. So that is definitely some stuff going on. But yeah, and a very good question. Because how do you know? I'll just repeat them. I want to know, how can I be sure that everything I've done to help people wasn't for nothing? Because yeah, sometimes when you go and try and be helpful, then all these bad things happen. How do you know it wasn't for just nothing? Yeah. And then one of the things too is also, how much trust can you put in someone? Everybody is corruptible. You do know that for sure. Every single one of us. I had a cop friend say one time, it's not, look at what this person did, or look at what, that person could do. It's like, look at what any one of us could possibly do. Given the right set of circumstances, given the right, choices that we make, we can all find ourselves in that corrupted state. And it does take discipline to stay on the right track. It takes making the right choices and living with virtue, as we've talked about on many streams before. Those virtues are what can keep you on track and away from that corruption. But then how do you trust people? Because everybody's corruptible. I mean, that's a really good question. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and see what he has to say about this. So
Okay.
kick us off, Jeff.
Boy. Yeah. So yeah, tonight. How did we end up with so eloquent and yet so dynamically challenging questions? I as a bystander, as a multitasker who watches Don't Worry Wednesday and Don't Fret Friday, the question sets, yeah, yes, they're challenges, but wow, from this perspective, these are like three of the toughest that I've heard in the last month or two or three.
Yeah, well, we
So
decided, when you're going to get your feet wet, we just throw you like into the ocean.
challenges, yes. Well, you're never handed more than you can handle. So I guess we're put into situations we can handle.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack there, and ripped from today's headlines and impacting our lives. So, but Akil, thank you so much for sharing this. I'm so sorry that you and your nation are dealing with this, and my heart goes out to those that have had to deal with the Christchurch incident. Getting to breaking out the parts of your question based upon what you shared there, you never know quite for sure whether what you've done is enough. You can only There's only this moment, and what you can do. I've heard it said there is either neither good nor bad. There is the way that we take our attitude, take our lens and focus of looking at a situation, and then how we react. And then that reaction molds the situation that carries beyond that point. So it's we can only control this very moment. And if we always do so thinking for the good, we have to hope that in love, each situation can move things forward. It doesn't mean that all bad situations are going to disappear, but if we do good and lead as an example, and then others are inspired to do good as well, it starts to snowball in situations I've seen in life.
Mhm.
I came from a certain political persuasion through my upbringing, and in college I was exposed to other parts which I listened to and went, yeah, okay, well, there's that. And I was still a certain political leaning. And then in adulthood, the more people I was exposed to, I didn't lose myself, but I became aware that there was more than just my political views, and that I could listen to, I could disagree, but I could listen to other situations. And then I could see what media and leadership was telling me, and I could think for myself and move through situations. Um, Helping others, there's never a bad time to not help others. Doing enough, well, you never know what is enough. You serve in that moment and then you keep moving on. Do you know if it did? Helping a kid up when they're 5 years old, that kid might go on to be the next Zuckerberg millionaire who might remember you and hire you for a job later on. You did a nice thing for them. That, the kindness, the karma of the world could, and usually does, if enough good's put in it. And yet tired. I can definitely relate to that. The deaths, many deaths. Mine aren't necessarily coming from drugs. Mine are coming from odd sleep apnea in multiple cases. Um,
Mm.
Young people, 38, a pair of 38-year-olds. One was an acquaintance, and one was a, a sister-in-law of my sister-in-law. So still sort of an acquaintance, but family. So there was the much closer bond. A pair of 38-year-old cut down far before their time, and not really known for necessarily being into drug situations, just health health gave out and it was their time. And then just people from back from where I came from passing away, and then world situations of popular people passing, followed by this tragic senseless crime
Mm.
um, going on. It's just, and then I have people living with me. There was a situation where there was this couple who were friends of my wife who became my friends, and they were going to end up homeless if we didn't take them in. So they were from California. They moved to a new world, and we decided to pay it forward. We'd lived 2.5 years out of the graciousness of others, and so we figured we would do that. We would open our house into that situation. So now, a few weeks from now, it'll be 3 years that we've been paying it forward and helping out. We have to trust that we're going through bad times there, but one, the wife in that couple, her aunt that was special to her just passed away unexpectedly. And then the hardest one was his dad died unexpectedly.
Mm.
And so I've seen young people, acquaintances, and then very, very close to home, death here in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's it almost like, well, okay, so who's next? And the latest was a friend of my father-in-law's died in his sleep.
Mm.
And so it becomes a case of nothing surprises me. It almost became to the point where I started to wonder if the rapture was started.
Mm.
People were just disappearing on me. I'm like, yeah, okay. Is it just going to be a massive? And I'm left, and I don't know. It just it gets you to start to wonder when death is all around. But through that, I've had to think back to other times when there's been many deaths around my life, and how I've made it through those in the past, and not to get bitter over it. In some cases, the afterlife, they're beyond the pain now, so I have to at least take some solace in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the death is sad for me, but I can't be selfish in sadness. And maybe there's my neighbor, maybe there's somebody else in the family who's taking the death even harder, and I need to be there as the rock and a supporter for them. And for world events, I can just live my life good and pray and know that this is a sad shape of the world today, and just lead by example and continue to do good. And maybe sometimes it's not just by example, but maybe it is speaking up, because I've heard stories of the ones from back in World War II where they said, oh, they came for this racial group and I said nothing. And then they came for the next racial group and I said nothing. And they came for the next and the next and the next. And then they came for me and I could say nothing because I had said nothing in the past. And then that individual was in the concentration camps of the people who were in power in Germany at that time, in another sad, evil period of world history. And never forgetting the bad examples so that we can learn from history and hopefully move on. And yeah, there is God's plan. Trusting in that.
Mm-hmm.
And just that trust carries through. Joe, insight?
Wow, that's all the deaths that have been attached to you, Jeff, like with all that stuff. That's crazy. I mean, I didn't quite know the extent of all that. That's a lot of folks. And yeah, it's amazing how in this world so many things happen, and it seems like sometimes we try so hard. And it's funny because I'm here, I'm going to start talking and then the stream's going to mess up again probably. So we'll see how many words I get out first. So I was like, Jeff, don't move it to me. Don't move it to me. Don't move it to me. We want to keep the stream going.
And cut.
Right. Exactly. Right. So Akil has some updates on here. He said, helping an old man with his food business in my neighborhood kind of got me involved into gang scenes, which got me to realize that my friends from high school are involved into drugs. So you'll never know where life might take us, which that's also a good song. And then it says, I'm just bitter because of the unfinished business they left there. Conflicts are sprouting out all over them, making the organization I used to work with harder to unite people. And yeah, so that, and then trust me, racial implied fights among hobos is a thing. My head is a mess right now. Hey, I understand. I know that it's hard when you try and it doesn't seem like things are going anywhere. for a long time, you know, I looked at my results or what results were happening, you know, and I looked at that and I would, yes. This is so fun. It's green. I said, you know, Jeff, why don't you just talk?
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey,
The refreshing Mountain Dew.
hey, we neither support nor reject
No,
them.
that's right.
Oh my goodness. So welcome back to the drama that we've had so far. This is great. We're gonna try this. Green, now red. Love it. No problem. I was barely started when it stopped. Oh, red they can see?
I'm watching. Yeah, it's funny watching us do stuff.
Oh. You can? Oh, okay. So they can see me right now? Can you see me now? And now it's green. Hey, you know, we're going to try this and it's going to be good. So how many words can I speak? It's going to be good. Anyway, Keel, thank you for posting again. And I hope that helped. Just kidding. No, there was a time in my life when I was so results focused that it would almost be depressing, because I would look at the results that I had and I would look at the results where I wanted to be or where my goals were, and I would see the difference between them, and it was just super duper frustrating and painful, right? And I started to learn that while it's good to have goals, it's good to have the places where you're looking to try and make an impact. And so I'm touching on here your question about, I just want to know, how can I be sure that everything I've done to help people wasn't for nothing? I want to know that things worked, and that, you know, that things pay off when you try to do things, because sometimes we don't ever know. I mean, we do these streams and we do our best to try and offer advice, but we don't know for sure if something's helpful, and we don't know necessarily who it's going to be helpful for. Sometimes what we say might not help the person who asked the question a whole lot, but it might help someone who is lurking and just kind of listening, or listens to or catches a podcast later or does something. Joe is so paranoid right now. That's great. It's science. You're my favorite right now. So at any rate, there comes a point in time when even though it's good to have goals, it's good to have things that we shoot for, it's good to run after stuff and try and hit those. And in no way am I saying that's a bad thing, because it's a good thing. But we also have to keep an eye on what we are doing right now. And so I remember going through this in my head. I was like, okay, where are we at? And I'd look at the goals we have for BSS. Oh, Cody, yes, you're my favorite too. You guys are all my favorite right now because you're here and you're sticking through all these technical issues. Um, but anyway, sorry. Offline again. Well, good. Let me know when it's back up. Green? Yay, it's back.
He's back.
Don't rip me yet. I'll rip you. I'll rip you a good one. Black Static and Swerve. So okay, so you got your goals and so you have your future picture that you're looking at and you're going for, right? But then you also have to look at what you're doing, the tasks that you're accomplishing now. With Black Static and Swerve, I remember going through this because we've got goals, we've got things we want to accomplish, we've got, different things that we want to do that will mark progress for us and help us to be more self-sufficient so we can spend more time doing what we do here that we love doing. And I can remember we'd look at those goals and I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're not there. And I'd be so frustrated. But then I had to step back and be like, okay, wait a second. What am I doing right now that's moving us in those directions? It's moving us in the direction of our goals. And it's like, all right, so I need to make my progress, like my effort, something to be proud of as well. Not just whether or not I hit my goal for the month or the year or that day or the week. One thing also to keep in mind of is that, am I actually progressing? Am I moving forward? Am I trying? Am I striving? What's our speedometer look like? On a car, you have an odometer that talks about how many miles you've gone. And then there's a speedometer, it's how fast are you going at that moment in time. And so you got to pay attention to both of them. So it's good to look at your odometer once in a while to see where you're at, but then also how fast are you going? How much are you doing? So if you can remember to keep both of those in mind as you're working on stuff, that really, really helps. And it helped me a lot. And then one thing, maybe you were here when I mentioned this quote that I got. But this quote is from a book called The Imitation of Christ. It was written way back in like the 1400s or the 1500s. And this is basically God talking to a person. It says, oh geez, now I just totally lost it. What you do, do it well. Work faithfully in my vineyard, and I will be your reward. So sometimes we are not going to see the results of what we do here. When someone plants trees, they don't get to experience the harvest, the lumber harvest. You plant a tree now, and with like just a seed, you won't ever see it fully grown. So you won't necessarily know. You plant the seed and you say, you know what? This could turn into this huge, beautiful tree. Or maybe when it's just barely nothing, someone will pull it out of the ground and it'll be nothing. So sometimes we just need to plant the seeds anyway. Mm-hmm. And then we find the satisfaction in the fact that, yes, we are doing something good. We don't know what the long-term ramifications are going to be. We don't know if the intended person is going to benefit from what we're doing right now. All we know is that we can put forth the effort and live that virtuous life like we've talked about. And that I find to be so rewarding in and of itself. So if you examine what you're doing at Keel, and if you find that what you're doing is virtuous, and if you find that what you're doing could be beneficial to people and could be helpful to others, and in your heart of hearts, you know that what it is a good thing, do more of that. Continue to do more of that. One thing that will always be in good health if you live that way is your conscience. And when your conscience is in good health, then you will sleep better, you'll be more at peace. And I would encourage you, don't try not to worry so much. Try not to be too concerned about whether or not your efforts are going to take hold and take root and be beneficial and long-term, all that kind of stuff. I know there have been times when I have worked super hard on a song. And you know what? You know who could attest to this would be Steve. He's a member of BSS. You guys have seen him from time to time. He can attest to this. You know, we've worked hours and hours, and I've seen Steve work for hours and hours and days and weeks and everything like that. And it's just, he's worked so hard on this song. And then when it comes to the final production, like 90% of the work that he did is cut. Or it gets lost. Or it gets deleted. There's a company I know that built a website. And we had a community and it was awesome. And we built this website and it was so sweet. We were super excited about it. We were talking about all the great things we were going to do. And then I remember getting a phone call from a person in this company that said, oh, the server got deleted. We were like, oh, what? I'm not going to mention any names. Jesse. I remember getting that phone call from Jesse, and I'll tell you, that was one of those moments where it was like, all that work. I mean, Jesse had worked so hard putting all this stuff together and working to get it all working properly and get it looking good and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, gone. And we were like, oh. And we had to just look at him and be like, oh, well, what do we do now? Well, I guess we start over. That's the best we can do. And we didn't have to start all the way over. You know, it ended up being where we could pick up some stuff from before. But sometimes that's how our efforts go. Sometimes we work so hard and we put a lot of effort into something and try to do something good. And it all ends up falling apart. But you know what? The job is to do good anyway. What is that, Jeff? You're the looker upper guy. Mother Teresa, I think, had a poem about anyway, to do good anyway. You know, people are crazy and stupid and dumb and whatever. Be good to them anyway. You know, she says it much more eloquently than that. But but sometimes when you're doing stuff for people.
Oh, here we go. Is it this one? People are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you're successful, you will win some unfaithful friends and some genuine enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and sincere, people may deceive you. Be honest and sincere anyway. What you spend years creating, others could destroy overnight. Create anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today will often be forgotten. Do good anyway. Give the best you have. It will never be enough. Give your best anyway. In the final analysis, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway.
I love that. I love that saying. So look it up, and I would read that to yourself over and over again. Just look up Mother Teresa anyway. Probably if you look up those words, it'll come up. But yeah, that is such a great saying. Oh, Princess posted a link. Thank you, Princess. You're awesome. So yeah. And then as far as putting trust in people, sometimes you trust them and they let you down. But trust them anyway. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now sometimes people go crazy. You got to defend yourself. You got to somehow protect yourself to some degree. But I think when you go through your life with that type of attitude where it's like, I'm going to just make deposits into this world as much as I can. I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to love people, even if they're having trouble, even if they're being upset. I'm going to learn how to forgive. I'm going to learn how to love beyond what somebody might be doing. Even people who are super violent and evil, they have good inside. They've just shut it down with a lot of evil for a long, long time. But there is good in there somewhere, buried way down deep. And it just goes to show the importance of us and making choices. The choices we make become who we are. So if you choose to do virtuous things, you will be a virtuous person and you will have more confidence, and the things of the world will slide off you a lot easier. Things will just kind of go. The more we go away from virtue, the more suspicious we are, the more down we are and self-conscious and everything. So I would encourage you, reread that quote from Mother Teresa a few times. And in those moments when you're in the darkness that you're in, when you're dealing with all this crazy stuff and you're plagued by doubt and you're plagued by, what's going on in the world around you, the violence and the depression and the death and just the sadness that surrounds, you can still be a light for the people around you. You can offer love and support and encouragement. Keel, that's great. Akil says, humans were born beautiful. It just saddens me how we ended here. Yep, we are. Yep. So it's totally true. Hey, the world we live in, we're surrounded by evil and good. But if we can be depositors of good, at least our little corner of the earth can be a little bit brighter. We don't have to give light to all the negative stuff. The bad stuff gets all the attention. We see that in the Catholic Church with the scandals, the priestly scandals in the Catholic Church. We have a few people throughout the years that have done some horrendously evil things, and some people in charge that have done some horrendously evil things, and cover-ups by people in charge. But when you look at this small number of people compared to the huge number of good people in the Catholic Church, most priests and clergy are celibate and great and peaceful and loving, and they care about their parishes and they love the people that they're with, and they truly are trying to help them get closer to God. And that is all they do. And that's the majority of the clergy. But a few people have done some really evil stuff. And guess who gets all the attention? Those few people who have done all the evil stuff. And now it's crazy. Like the stuff that's going on now is stuff that happened 20 years ago, but it's getting the attention now. And all the good, just nobody pays attention to that. Everybody just pays attention to the evil. Now, the evil needs to be brought to light, and it needs to be handled, and it needs to be, properly, punished. The people need to be held responsible for what they did, because those things were horrendous. And it's the same with anything, any type of evil that happens. The people responsible need to be held responsible. They need to face whatever is the just consequence for their actions, and they need to be held accountable for it. But at the same time, most of the time, that is such a minority of the beauty of the world. These evil things that happen, that get all the attention. There's so much more beauty out there, and you can be a creator of it, Akil. And I think you are. And sometimes it's discouraging and disheartening when all this bad stuff is happening. So keep on going, Akil. Keep doing good, no matter what. And I think you will. So Jeff, you got anything else on this one?
No, the only would point beyond where I took some of the comments earlier with the political alignments. I found that there are people of the other political party, and I find myself now right in the center, and I read through what the beliefs are of the different political parties, and I like, well, I pick and choose. So when I go to a polling place, those votes are of my own choice, and I can come away from certain elections where I voted for 5 or 6 different political parties based upon getting to know regarding the human that wants to serve the community or the state or the nation. And so I just have to trust that the information that I've gathered about that person can be the best. And then my job, we stay out of politics, but I cross paths with politicians. And just this week, I did interviews about a non-political issue, and I talked to politicians on both sides of the major American parties. And it was refreshing that we were talking about railroads and something that was nonpartisan, and that everybody, they were like, well, railroads at least take some of the burden off the regular driving roads, and the driving roads are giving us challenges.
Yeah.
And we're like, yep. And we'll try to figure out a solution to that, but we'll celebrate railroads and that topic. But I've gotten to know, as an acquaintance, to the point where they'll smile or acknowledge me, some people that are in upper political positions. And if I was just John Q. Public at home seeing commercials of the other party and their accusations about that person, I could easily attribute bad evil. And I've gotten to know these nice humans and they have good hearts, and they're just trying to do what they can and serve and move forward. Sometimes their belief system in the
Hey, it happened for Jeff this time.
yeah. Well, I got to talking about politics, and you never talk politics and religion.
Yeah.
But
we handle it all on Don't Worry Wednesday.
But
we're green again. See, did it happen to Jeff this time?
That's right. So anyway, I've gotten to know people who some have really bad opinions of, and getting to know that human. Not necessarily that I'll put all trust and faith in that person, but I know that there's more than just what the media might tell me about that situation. And I come from the media side, which Joe would have to attribute the fact that there might have been a misconception of I might be of a mindset because I've been in media over the years. I was prejudged to be of a certain thing.
I totally prejudged Jeff because he was a member of the media, and I was like, oh man, great. I was like, I could never be friends with this guy. And then I look at us now, and like, hey, we've been friends for what, 9 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, so it's amazing. Yeah. Well, perfect. So anyway.
So guess who got heard?
Jeff.
The one that was screaming. I don't know.
We're online. Hey guys, we should be online. Keel, I hope that was helpful for you. But we're about at the 2-hour mark. So I think before we run into another problem, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. I really appreciate all you guys sticking around through all this. It was crazy. And again, give Jeff a hand for his first time doing Don't Worry Wednesday. I thought he did awesome. I can't wait to see him next time he's on. So yes,
you're welcome.
Thank you for being here, and I'm really glad. I'm really glad you got to do this. So thanks for agreeing to it.
You're welcome.
we kind of put him on the spot. We found out Ryan was going to be gone. We're like, hey Jeff,
you're here all the time. Why don't you just jump on?
You're around. You want to just do this with us? He's like, okay. He's like totally willing and did a great job. So
I'm an audio guy.
You are.
I don't do no video.
Well, hey, now you're on video. So and he's got that voice. He's got the voice for radio, which is just, it's beautiful.
And
offline.
Face for radio too.
I would not say a face for radio. I would say a face for audio visual. You have a face for AV. Face for the AV department. It's green. All right, guys. Thank you for being here on Don't Worry Wednesday. We will be here this coming Wednesday. Looks like probably Ryan will be back too. And hopefully YouTube will be back the way it's supposed to be. I think that would be awesome. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Princess, for running this show behind the scenes. And Jeff, thank you for being here again. And
you're welcome.
We'll see you guys next time on the stream. So thanks, guys. We love you.
Boy.
You there you go. Perfect.